Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Trinity Crisis, one shot off of the DC's Death Metal. I did not like this book. No, wait, it gets worse. I actually think that this makes the whole event worse. It's actually going to get even worse than that. I'm going to give you a spoiler at the end of this review, so warning for that. I will tell you before I actually give the spoiler. All before that will not actually be spoilers, just a general review. Again, even though I don't like this book, no personal attacks, that's not who I am. So giving credit where credit's due, but yeah. Anyway, Scott Snyder is the writer, Francis Manapul on art, Ian Herring on the colors, Tom Napolitano on letters, Manapul does the cover, and Kyle Hotz does the variant cover. To be continued in Dark Knight's Death Metal, issue number 4. And that right away is one of the problems that I have with this comic book. Why is this an interlude? Why are there 6 issues of DC's Death Metal, but then you throw this in there also? Sorry, there are no tie-ins. There's 0 tie-ins all across. Like, there's the Joker War happening right now. That's it. That's the only crossover event or tie-in event that's actually happening in DC right now. So why did you make an ancillary issue? Why not just make 7 issues of DC's Dark Knight's Metal? I understand that they decided to make a tour guidebook, which I wasn't interested in. It was pretty obvious that that's the case. But when I set my mind to something, in my opinion, like, that's where I'm at. I'm only looking at that. I'm not going to look at your silly little previews that I've got. Oh, look, here's a list of all the books you got to get to follow along with the series. No. If you have tie-ins, then I understand. But what was the purpose of making this book as opposed to simply making it issue number 4 of Death Metal in a 7-issue limited series as opposed to 6? There were 0 points in doing that. There's 0 points. You can't read issue 4 without reading this. So what was the purpose of this? You gave us the idea, DC, gave us the idea that there are going to be 6 issues. And then you start throwing in all these extra little things where we can't actually follow the story unless we buy them anyway. You know, the way that disposable income usually works is that you tell me what's out there or what's going to be out there. I put money aside for that. But then when you suddenly show up and it's like, oh, hey, look, here's some extra stuff. No, I wasn't expecting that. I'm not happy at this at all. In the slightest bit. This actually offends me that they would decide to do something like this. This is a part of the DC Death Metal, and it's not some side thing. It's the main thing. This continues directly from issue 3. Nonsense like that is one of the reasons why most of us are looking at DC Comics right now as a hot mess dumpster fire. I don't know whose decision it was to do this, but shame on that individual. It seems like such a little thing, right? Now, imagine trying to collect this stuff 2 years from now. Now I think hopefully it's understood a little bit better. If you get the omnibus, you don't care. If you're getting the stuff now and you were keeping abreast of all this information, you don't care. But if in 2 years somebody decides to start collecting this stuff, now look at what happens. This is the stuff that I'm talking about as far as legacy numbers and going back to issue number 1s and whatnot. And realistically, the story in this comic book wasn't good. It wasn't good. I would love to just call this a throwaway comic book because realistically, it's not the idea that it's a throwaway comic. It's more like it's a throwaway issue. It's more like it's a throwaway series. This issue, I think, did more harm for the series as a whole because already with Dark Knight's Death, or whatever the hell they were calling it before, the previous one before the whole Earth's and Perpetuous stuff and whatnot, it just felt like they're just throwing stories at us. Like, here's a little thing, and here's a little thing, and here's a little thing, and you're never going to hear from this stuff again. A partial spoiler for this comic book. Barbados shows up in this comic book, only to be shown to be entirely irrelevant. This main adversary in that previous story that I was talking about, that preceded all of this, a completely useless character. When you see what happens in this comic book, I'm okay with the various different opinions, and I don't begrudge anybody for that. No shame, no blame on anybody, but I would love to hear the reasoning. I won't even give a response because I don't think I could give an intelligent response. I'm being honest when I say this. Somebody who saw the interaction between the Justice League and Barbados in this, if you looked at this and you said, holy crap, that was amazing, please tell me why. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to respond because I don't want to say anything that you're going to be offended by. But I'm serious when I say I can't imagine one single person, one entity all across this multiverse possibly looking at this and saying, that's awesome. That really follows up on the original Dark Knight's Metal story. No. I can't possibly imagine that. So please, comments, tell me why you think that was cool. I will simply give a heart to let you know that I've read it and move on. Unless you're a jerk about it, then I'm going to make a video about you. Anyway, as far as the rest of the story, I'm going to get into the spoiler really quick now. So I'm going to show you the last page on here. If you're not interested in the story, it doesn't mean anything to you. If you are interested in the story, this was your spoiler warning. You should have been gone by now. Superboy Prime shows up. I think that maybe Snyder and the editors should have maybe been talking to Jeff Johns with the Shazam comic book, because we just saw Superboy Prime get his ass handed to him in a single issue last week. Just last week, he got his ass handed to him. And what was that, issue number 14 of Shazam? A Superboy Prime is not a threat at this point. 2 characters whooped his ass. 2 characters beat him into unconsciousness and sent him back to wherever in chains and all that. And then here, like, he's going to show up, and it's like, we're going to be like, holy crap, it's Superboy Prime. Sorry, I've been reading Shazam. I can give a rat's ass about Superboy Prime at this point. He is inconsequential at this point. The editors of DC, maybe Jeff Johns should have said something to people. Are there editors at DC Comics? Is there a single editor? Because I saw editors in this. I'm so done. I can't wait for DC to just be finished, to just be done. They're already planning on charging us? You want to charge us for the fandom this coming Saturday? You watch and see how much you make on this. If they make $100,000 off of this, I will eat a shoe. I will eat my shoe. Okay? That's right. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. All right? And that comes after costs and everything, though. So, no, this is not me weaseling. This is me understanding how business works. If they earn a profit of $100,000 off of it, if they make $50,000 off of this, I'll be shocked. I'll lick my shoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is no way people in droves are going to be looking at this. I promise you, this is going to be the most pirated thing that DC Comics ever does. More than their individual comics. This is heartbreaking. Plus, they're going to start putting out, like, it sounds cool, they're going to start putting out speed metal, thrash metal, death metal. I'm done. I don't care. I don't care about the metal. I don't care how this ends, because I can't imagine anybody caring about this. This is the most ridiculous thing that DC could possibly do. With the hot mess dumpster fire that DC Comics is in right now, for you to put out an extra issue and then start promising there's going to be more issues. And I understand if somebody says, oh, they already said there's going to be more issues, Professor, you just didn't see it. Okay, cool. I actually saw something a week ago on this. I'm like, I don't know if that's such a great idea. And then they just keep on putting out more of these. They said this was going to be 6 issues. And then it just starts springing more of this stuff on us. And you need to read every single one of these issues. So you set aside a budget for 6 issues. Turns out it's going to be more like 12, maybe 18 by the time they're finished. Who knows? Because they're going to keep on throwing stuff. You remember when Batman Who Laughs, they suddenly threw an extra issue? So, it's going to be 6 issues. It's like, we're going to throw in a 7th issue. And there was no need for it? Yeah, that stuff. It tells me that editors are getting paid to hang out. And this, mind you, this isn't me attacking editors. No, because editors report to people too. And if those people who the editors report to tell them, do such and such and such, how can you blame the editors? They're just trying to maintain job security. When push comes to shove, DC Comics, Marvel deserved to go into bankruptcy when they went into bankruptcy. And right now, I feel that DC Comics deserves to go into bankruptcy also. They're planning on putting digital first as the only thing they put out, unless it's called Batman. The only way, oh my God, I actually have to pull this thing out right now. The only way for them to sell Superman comics is to introduce new characters. I'm glad they at least got smart and pulled John Romita Jr. off the book. Why is anybody hiring this person to draw comics in the first place? Listen, I am actually genuinely frustrated beyond belief with DC Comics right now. It's not just this issue. It's the whole entity of DC Comics at this point. The whole thing. Yeah, walking by and seeing a dumpster fire and garbage all over the floor and it's spreading. And the only thing you can do is call the fire departments and they're saying, yeah, we know. We're just going to let this one burn out. Now, I'm getting to the point where I'm done with this. I'm going to read the next issue of Hawkman. That'll be issue number 28. And I'm going to read James Tynion's Batman and Tomasi's Detective Comics. I don't think offhand right now that there's anything else from DC that I'm reading or interested in. I'm done with these events. I'm done with trying to advertise their garbage. I'm tired of advertising their stuff. So, nah. I don't care about the views. I don't. I care about promoting good comics. Because, let's be realistic, anybody who actually does stuff on YouTube knows I don't do merch or anything like that. I'm not making money off of this. I can afford to pay for my comics with the money that I make off of YouTube. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily this is a charitable event that I'm doing here, but it's a lot more charity than it is a money-making campaign. So that's why I have no problem shooting from the hip and speaking truth. Like this is God, I feel like a goddamn comics gator. This is garbage. This is garbage. Not a single memorable thing happened in here except decking just a sideways Barbados in chains. You, how dare you? I'm here and I'm doing. You're in chains. Shut up. And Superman does exactly what needed to be done. He decks him. He backhands him. He pimp slaps him. He bitch slaps him. And just, we could have gotten information out of him. He had nothing to say. This is the big threat from the original Dark Knight, Dark Metal, Batmandium stuff. I'm done with DC Comics. And I think DC Comics is going to be done pretty soon too. This is a death knell. This is the jumping of the shark. For me at least. This is Fonzie jumping a shark. Goodbye, DC. It was nice knowing you. You used to be cool. Talk to you later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Like the video. Watch an ad. Class dismissed.